Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Chris O Show. You could be listening on MuskokaUnlimited.com, my Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're listening. We are also really in bed with some of our local people here in Muskoka, 88.7 FM, our local not-for-profit community radio station you could be listening on. Anyways, thanks for joining us. We do appreciate it. And today I have a really special guest, a Canadian musical icon that many of us grew up listening to and watching on Much Music at times, the videos. And so, Mr. Colin James, Colin, thank you so much for taking some time to join us.
You bet.
Colin, you're on a tour right now, all across the country, coming to Ontario very shortly in April, hitting up Richmond Hill, Brampton, Parry Sound, a ton of cool spots. What can people expect from this tour that you're on right now when they come see you perform?
Yeah, okay. Well, the tour I'm doing now is kind of two sets. We do two sets a night, 245s.
Yeah.
We kind of cover as much ground as possible from, older material to the last three records. Really, you can really it's a more of a pared down show. It's a trio. So we have a bass player, drummer, and when I say drums, we have a kick drum and a snare drum,
Oh, nice.
both with foot pedals. So it's not like a traditional drummer. They're playing like that and they're playing bass at the same time. So I'm glad it's not me doing that. And but I really it's a kind of show that I started playing a number of years ago. I had a manager at the time who said, it would be really good for you to get used to talking to the audience a little more.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, all my life, it's been kind of a rock show where it's like,
Yeah.
ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da, thank you, good night, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Not a lot of personal stories or context to the songs. And I guess I started this maybe, now it's been probably 10, 12 years, maybe more. And at first I was really nervous about it. And it was kind of playing those kind of size venues like 500 to 800, 300 to 500, where you might have a bit more of a background. If you say it's 5 long years, I'll talk a little bit more about why I wrote the song and how I wrote the song.
Nice.
It's a bit more of a personal night, and I have to say, doing the shows like that helped every show I do.
Oh, okay.
Because it's opened me up to talking a little more. I didn't used to love doing that, and I could play music till till the cows come home, but I was never very comfortable speaking a whole lot, not for any particular reason, just because I'd never done it. And I love these shows because it allows me to play songs that often I wouldn't play in a more of a heated setting.
Yes.
Where I'm trying to just whoop through the tunes. It allows me to play maybe a few more ballads that are not the number like, I play Why July, but there's a few songs that there's probably 8 choices I could do in a night. And from night to night, I might do this one, I might do that one, I might do this one. And it's just a very musical night. And I've ended up really loving them, these shows, almost more than my other shows, just because there's room for musicianship and subtlety.
Okay.
And I can go everywhere from playing a finger picking acoustic song that I would never play in a rock setting to stuff you'd more expect, and with a pared down band.
Yes.
It's not an acoustic show because I bring up way too many guitars. We have electric, we play electric, and we play through amps, and
yes,
I do play acoustic as well, but only on maybe 4 songs.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So I love these shows, and I love lately my bands. I've got 4 to 5 bands. I got the little big band, which we don't do very often. We're playing the Harvest Festival in September.
Nice.
In Moncton with it. We just did 2 sold out shows at the Commodore with it. And it was really fun. Then I have a 5-piece where we tend to play. That's my normal band across Canada. No horns, just like keyboards, 2 guitars, bass, drums.
Awesome.
Then I have the 4-piece, and then I have the trio, and sometimes I'll augment my band with a horn or 2. So, but the trio is a lot of fun. I love it.
That's awesome. And I love that the intimacy and how you transition to a bit of that intimacy with the audience where you're talking to them, you're getting to be creative with your sets each time you do it. It's not just always kind of like the rock show that everyone expects, right? I
Yeah,
love
well,
that.
yeah, because like when you only have a person on this side and a person on this side, I can change my mind at the last minute,
Yeah.
and I can go, hey guys, wait, let's try this, or I'll just go into a song and they'll know it.
Yeah.
So I love that, and I've come quite close to this show. I love it a lot.
That's awesome. Well, and that's
Yeah.
good news for everyone coming to see you, and all over the country. Obviously, you're out west right now, and then, coming here, and so that's really cool that people are going to get that different side of you if they haven't seen it yet and they haven't been
Yeah,
out to a show, right? So
yeah, yeah. Like personally, my wife, she likes this show better than all the other shows.
nice.
But she's been with me for many years, and
Yeah.
she's seen the other show many times. So I get it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So yeah, so it's really cool that you're doing this, and it's like you're 30 plus years in the business, right? And how have you maintained like 20 plus albums, maintaining that kind of vibe, that love and passion to keep going and keep doing everything?
Well, you know, I don't know. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I started playing because I wanted to play. I didn't start because I wanted to be a rock star. I didn't. It wasn't money. My God, if that's what you start this business for, there's a lot of other places you can get money.
Yeah.
Uh, and as you know, the industry has been fairly devastated by the leaks in the system
Yeah.
that caused us to really kind of not get paid for
Yeah.
music anymore. So if that was like I say, years ago, I got to know Joni Mitchell years ago, and she was dating a friend of mine for about 10 years. And I was talking about music, and she says, "You're a lifer, aren't you?" And I went, "A lifer? I'd never heard that expression." Well, you're gonna play for the rest of your life, I think. And I said, "Oh yeah." I mean,
Yeah.
that's always been. It's never been a fly by night. Hey, I'm gonna get in, cash out.
Yeah.
That's never been the idea, and I knew that from the start because I quit school in grade 10. I hit the road. I left home at 16, and played in every liquor board store and in front of every subway stop in Montreal, Toronto. I'm exaggerating, not everyone, but Toronto I didn't do much busking, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Montreal I busked. I did that here in Vancouver when I moved out here when I was 18 or
Yeah.
20, 19 or 20. And it's always been about the music, and I'm still, I'm still excited about making records. You still hope that next song you write is going to be the best song you ever wrote,
Yeah.
and that fire, you got to have it because it's not always fun, this industry. You're
Yeah.
always trying to deal with a diminishing industry,
Yes.
and but I love the lifestyle, and I think you become so accustomed to it. I love being home.
Yeah.
Like I love being home, but once you're used to kind of living on the road and being with your mates on the road, that's another whole life, and I love that too. And it's just given me the business has given me so much,
Yeah.
uh, and every situation's different, and you
That's
never know what's
awesome.
around the corner.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome. And it's really insightful. I like that you kind of, you can reflect on that and say, these are the things I love about it. And this is, and it's really important that you said that because I was going to say, what's some advice you would give to someone young? And I guess one of the advice would be like, don't do this unless you really love it. Don't do it
yeah.
unless you love to make music.
Yeah, and don't not have a life because of it
Yeah.
either. Like enjoy your life. I've had two children.
Yeah.
My children are 25 and 28 now. Yeah, was it hard making records and being a dad? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard because I had to leave my wife alone fairly often. It was hard because I wasn't there sometimes when I wanted to be. But when you are home and you're a musician, you're really home.
Yes.
You're not, hey, I'll be back at 6. You're truly home. So I had a lot of really great. I was definitely there for my kids. I just wasn't there all the time.
Yeah. And that's
And and I think some people sacrifice their lives for their career. I don't. I don't advise that. Hey, if that's what you're into, do your thing. But you got one chance at this life, and you want to experience all the stuff. And having a family is my daughter is my social media person now, and so we get to work together now in that respect, and it's wonderful.
that
Uh,
is wonderful.
yeah,
That is,
yeah,
I mean, I have 2 kids myself, right? So,
yeah,
15 and 11 going, and my daughter's 11 going on 40. So,
yeah. Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. My daughter moved out, as did my son,
yeah,
but she had to move back in temporarily, so she's moving out again soon. So she's actually hanging around here right now, and
that's
with her
awesome.
husband. She got married last year, so
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
great. And it's nice having her around, I bet, after.
I love it. And when she
Yeah.
left the first time, I didn't see it coming. I Next thing you know, she was gone, and I was like, ah, no, you know. But it's great having her around. But she's moving into a new place soon, and
Nice.
my son's moving back in for the summer. So
There you go. One in, one out.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. One of the other questions I had kind of made a note about is just because something I was interested in. All your projects, all the songs you've written, everything you've done and created. Is there any, like, and maybe not one particular song or two songs, but is there any one of the albums that you were like, man, of everything I've done, I'm most proud of this one?
They all have their thing. I guess sometimes when you make a record in the face of adversity, you're kind of proud of them because everyone told you not to do it.
Yeah.
Everyone told me not to do Little Big Band records.
Okay.
The business didn't want me to do it. Um, Everyone thought it was career suicide. Uh, and I did them anyway. And they ended up selling as good or better than
Yeah.
almost all my records. And now I'm so glad I did those records because the music I did in them, although a lot of it wasn't mine, they're classic, beautiful songs. And I got to breathe life back into some music that otherwise might not have been heard again. So that I'm proud of that. Um, and every time I've taken a leap of faith when it comes to my own direction,
Mhm.
whether it's the National Steel record I did with Colin Linden, where we played all acoustic traditional music,
Yeah.
again, the industry didn't want those from me either. And all of those are the ones I'm most proud of because they show depth artistically. And I think it's a real mistake to find a niche and just stick to one thing. I think for some people, it's the way to go.
Yes.
But if you feel you got more in you and you don't exercise that, then you don't get those successes that sometimes only happen from turning things on its head.
Yeah.
So though I'm proud of those ones, but even Fuse, the record that I did with Craig Northey, that's more of a pop record,
Yes.
which is almost all original. It sold probably worse than any of my records, and I think it's one of the most diverse and original records I've made. So even the records that didn't do well commercially, I find a place for personally. And at
Yeah.
times that the only things I regret are the times when I got convinced to do things that I didn't want to do.
Ah, okay.
A record company is strong arming me for songs that I didn't like.
Yes.
Uh, uh,
We don't have to mention them.
I won't. But there's a couple times I got like, we know what's going on. You got to do it. We know a hit when we hear it. Those are the ones where I regret. I regret terribly because they weren't that big a hit, and they didn't do. You got to you got to trust yourself. I mean, sometimes there's nothing wrong with advice.
Yes.
We all need advice sometimes, and,
Sure.
and obviously sometimes we're our worst enemies, and I know that's true, and I've probably been guilty of that to myself. but I think you know, at the heart of things, you know when it's not right, and if you ever have that feeling, you're probably right. And you know, everyone thinks they're doing the right thing, and people in the business side of things have a lot more at stake, especially if they're helping you with a record that's their job is to sell records, and if
Yeah.
they give you advice that doesn't sell records, they might lose their job.
Yes.
But that
Exactly.
means also that they're maybe not the best people to take advice from.
It's true.
So you know,
It's true. Because maybe they're not like it's
they're
not,
scared.
yes. They're
They're
not making a
scared,
clear decision because of
and
that.
they're exactly if they're worried about their job, therefore they're trying to keep you in a narrow
Yeah,
slot. Then maybe you're not getting advice from the best place that have your best interests in mind.
exactly. That's some good advice you're giving everybody.
Well, 20 records later, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Now, speaking of some of those records, you've won awards. You've won tons of awards. 8 Junos, 29 Maple Blues Awards, uh, and then there's the countless accolades of just being recognized for your longevity, for your work, for your music, for everything you've done. Is there anything like of those awards or any recognitions you've received where you're like, man, that one was really special because it came from something where I put my heart and soul into it?
I think I think the one I won a Juno for Best Producer one year. And I remember being, this is going to sound ridiculous, but I remember being disappointed at the time because I never considered myself a producer. I'm not like, I've never produced many other people's records.
Okay.
I've produced my own records. And at the time when I got the award, I was like, I want for singer or for songwriter, or for
Yeah, yeah.
band, or for, you know, producer. But then I thought about it and realized that I've produced all my records. You know, I don't leave the room during a making a record, and I'm very I don't let people pick songs for me,
Mhm.
and I don't like I've been very involved in this record. I'm even more involved now because I've had to become an engineer recently because we're doing a lot of stuff long distance now.
Yeah.
So when I leave Nashville, I just finished a record in Nashville a few months ago in November. When I come home, I have to do all the engineering in my studio for my own record. So I'm punching in, I'm punching out, I'm, I'm crossfading,
Yeah.
I'm editing, I'm keeping track of takes, I'm doing all that. So I've become an engineer too, which I never really intended to, but it gives you the power
Yeah.
to do what you want. So it's pretty important to learn how to become an engineer because nowadays in particular there's not a lot of budget there anymore. You don't have a guy who's you don't have a producer with an assistant who's going to walk you through that anymore. It's pretty much all right, well you finish the vocals and send them to me.
Yes. Yeah,
You
that's
know,
it. Yeah.
and if you send them in raw form, we're not going to send 8 versions of a song. You don't want people to have a choice. I want to judge what
Yeah.
singing gets kept.
Yes.
So, so I guess that was it. I realized later that you are a producer, even if you don't get paid to be a producer.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
yeah,
It's true. And as a small independent media guy
yeah,
who used to work with the big companies,
yeah.
I know exactly what it is about doing all your own stuff. So I totally
Yeah, well,
appreciate that.
you need to be able to do it because it puts it puts the control in your hands.
It's true. It's
I
that's
don't,
very
I mean,
true.
I don't mind. I'm not a mixer, so I don't feel comfortable mixing a song. Like I'll do it,
Yes.
but it's not my expertise, and I would never expect it to be. I wouldn't master my record. I don't know how to master,
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
but I know how to get a good tone on my vocal on my mic, and I know how to get my equipment working, and that's all I need. And
Yeah.
I appreciate people who produce and engineer because it's an incredibly difficult uh, choices. You have to make big choices,
Yes.
and you got to know what you're
Definitely.
doing. Yeah.
Definitely. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. One thing I wanted to actually ask you too, speaking about just your career and then producing and then and everything in your career, you've played with a ton of very, very cool artists over the years and done some musical collaborations with like some like amazing like people as we both consider legends, I'm sure, right? In
Hmm.
the in the industry and in music in general. Is there like what was one or two that you were like, man, I never thought I'd be able to play with that person, and it just like it was the amazing experience.
Oh man, every time.
I
Like
love it.
I got to play with Pop Staples,
Yeah.
and I grew up listening to the Staples singers. So I met Pops before I met Mavis, and then singing with Mavis. Like, are you kidding me? Like, she is like the soundtrack of the '60s. She's a friend of Martin Luther King's.
Yes.
She's like, come on, like,
Yeah.
and she's one of the nicest people you could ever meet. Playing with Steve Miller, like
Yeah. Yeah.
I grew up playing to Steve Miller in my room, in my house,
Yeah.
seeing his record covers, thinking, look at that white Stratocaster. Oh my God, one day I'll have a Stratocaster. And then in Toronto years ago, I opened up the show and he brought me on for his part of the show. Stevie Ray Vaughan, playing with Stevie was just always mind blowing. I love Stevie. He was just the best guy,
Yeah.
and he was so helpful to people like me. Um, Buddy Guy, I just toured with Buddy Guy a
Oh,
couple of
cool.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
did a bunch, like 40 nights or whatever it was. And, to tour with a guy like that and be able to sit around and talk to him about some of his past and play with him at the end of the night every night. Bonnie Raitt. I mean, I grew up listening to Bonnie Raitt, and now
Yeah.
she's my friend, and
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, people I never thought I would meet,
Yeah.
Carlos Santana, playing with Carlos Santana. I got to play Healer with him at the Gorge in Washington.
Sweet.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in years now, but that was a trip. Touring with Little Feat years ago,
Yeah.
that was amazing, and toured with Robert Plant years ago through England. That was incredible. It's just,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Really, and and that's what I love is that you were able to like one as like someone who just loves music and loves doing it, you were able to appreciate all these moments. And
yeah,
and you're and like you're living out a lot of like kids' dreams. So it's just so cool.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, when you find out that these people are just people and they're
Yep.
just like you, they had a journey and they uh, often were lucky. I
Yes.
mean, it all takes some luck and some skill, and
Yep.
you know they and most of them are extremely grateful because a lot of people can't make it in the biz, and they might be super talented but just can't deal with the shenanigans,
Yeah.
and the ups and downs of it. And
Yep.
if you can just ride it out, like I say, man, like I've had lean years where you're not the most popular, and when
Mm.
you're not, your records don't get accolades, and you're kind
Yeah.
of. And then I've had years where it just changed like that, and all of a sudden you're kind of back in the eye, and then you're gone
Yes.
and back. So you got to be around for all those twists and turns because they're unpredictable, and you can't count on it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Colin, I'm gonna get one more last question in, and then I'll
All
let
right.
you go relax and enjoy your day.
Sure.
um, so one last question is, you've seen 30 years in the business. You came up back when it was doing gigs. Um, you had to go old school, you had to hustle, you had to do all the stuff non-digital, right?
Mhm.
Now so many people are like just digital, putting stuff out there on the internet, putting things. Can you give me a little comparison, some of the good things about what's happened digitally for musicians and creators and artists, and some of the things that you wish people would still do that were kind of more, I'd say, old school with no, let's say old school just to use that term.
See, it's kind of subjective, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm not an Instagram
Yeah.
influencer. I don't want to be.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to be a little biased about that. Like, I don't mind posting here and there,
Yes.
but to have that be my daily requirement,
Yeah.
would really bother me. Oh
Gotcha.
my God, I got to do a post today. I got to do a post tomorrow. I got to do 2 posts today. I see a lot of these players, especially guitar players now, that have internet careers.
Yes.
And I don't disparage it. I mean, God, it's hard to be on the road. It's expensive to be on the road. So if
Yeah.
you can do it in your room and get to a lot of people, I just don't know if it has the same impact. I don't know. I just think being out in the world, you experience so much more
Yeah.
than you're gonna in your room, even if you are turning on people who are watching you from a distance. I
Yes.
just don't know. It just seems a bit of a, I don't know, an emptier experience when you're not sharing it with people one on one.
Yes. No, I gotcha. I gotcha.
But what do I know? I mean, I can't sustain that behavior.
Yes.
I do it for a day or two and I go, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
I see these people and they have 3 a day.
Yeah.
They're sitting in there and they're filming until it's right, and they're
Yeah.
putting it out, and they get the followers. I mean, there's got to there's got to be some payoff there. I just I can't imagine it, because I do come from the old school where you show up in a town, you play and you play until you have some people who like what you play, and then
Yeah.
you leave and you come back next time.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really has changed, but you know, I don't know what the I don't know what the what I don't know what the end result of all this is. You got
Yeah.
AI, you got AI creeping up on people now, where people
Yeah.
could take my voice and I would never know the difference.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know. I guess I don't know the answer there.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
For me, I think like personally, I think personally, we need more balance between the digital stuff and the getting out there.
Yeah.
So, because you want to still like, I mean, I'm 47, so I'm a little more. I'm a Gen Xer, right?
Right,
So
right, right.
I'm used to being out, knocking on doors, going and meeting people, hanging out. I still love doing that. I still love going and
Yeah.
meeting people and hanging out in
Yeah.
person. But I respect and understand that the digital world is a part of our lives. So I think
Oh,
we
yeah.
just need more balance. Like I think some of these players go out and meet people, go play outside.
Well, and an example for me, an example in a microcosm is how we relate to each other with texts and emails.
Yeah,
You can get so much more done with a phone call.
it's true.
I just sometimes it's like, oh, you send something, it's a simple question, and you don't get an answer for 2 days,
Yeah.
and then you still don't know what's going on because you haven't had a chance to go. I think you're wrong. I think we should do this. So that takes another 2 days of
Yes.
exchanging of. I just that drives me
Yeah.
nuts, because you could get it all done in a second.
It's true. It's true.
You
I know.
know,
And I'm
so
the same way.
sometimes it's not quicker, it's not better, it's passive aggressive,
Yeah.
and it doesn't get the job done.
It's true. It's
And
true.
no one knows where you stand.
It's true. It's true. I know.
Just say what you mean, get her done,
And
and
let's
move
go.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's good advice. That
There
is
you
the best
go.
advice we've had all day.
Yeah, because it's so easy to defer. Oh, I'll get back to that later, and then no one knows what's going on, and
Yeah.
silence sometimes is louder than words.
It's true. It's
And
true.
you don't know where someone stands, or how come they haven't got back to me for 2 days? What's wrong with them? And then you find out it was
Exactly.
nothing. They were on a plane. You know?
Exactly. They couldn't do it. I know.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you just get
It's
a quick call, it's done.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Anyways, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Colin, that's good for that's like actually that's our time
All
for
right,
my
man.
time that I have.
Perfect.
I thank you so much for joining me and answering my questions and being candid and honest and taking us on a little journey about some of the inner workings of Colin James. So thank you.
All right. All right. You bet.
All right. Thanks everyone
Okay.
for listening. Chris O Show, you know where to find us. All our channels. It's easy. We'll talk soon and have a wonderful day, all.